What is up, XRP crypto community? Welcome back to another video. So a lot's happening this Friday afternoon on the news. We have Gary Gensler coming on mainstream media, as well as Larry Fink, the CEO of Blackrock, talking about a lot of things related to XRP and future other crypto ETFs. And ever since these ETFs went live, you've seen a little bit of a blow off top from 49K to 43K. And I do think we'll see lower price levels. However, that's just speculation. And I am no market maker, so we'll just have to see how this plays out. The first clip from Larry Fink right here. CNBC Squawk Box. Take a listen.
If you're going to launder money, it's been cash up to this point. So, I mean, Bitcoin is probably...
Or jewels.
Yeah, okay, but Bitcoin probably, for total money laundering, it's probably 0.0005. So why pick on Bitcoin for the money laundering when it's obviously hasn't been used up to... Al Capone never had any Bitcoin.
So I assume you're also talking about Libra then, too.
I don't want to... Libra, I don't even think is a cryptocurrency.
I don't either. That's what I was going to say.
And I don't think it has any inherent value.
Besides, it's a debit card.
And I don't want... It's centrally... I mean, and Mark Zuckerberg's involved, and everybody gets to keep the float all...
Let's talk about the concept, though.
Yeah.
Forget about who's created it and what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
You know, I was in Europe this past week. I had to buy a new briefcase because mine broke actually there.
When I was carrying cash to launder?
All jewels.
Yeah,
no.
Right.
And when I was going to sign the receipt or the electronic thing, they'd asked me, do I want to pay in euro or dollar?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, dollar. Then I looked at it. I'm still being charged at 3%.
Terrible.
Okay? So, and when you think about all the people who send money, you know, they may work in one country, send money back home. They generally do that through organizations that charge 5 to 10%. Yeah. There is a need, whether it's a Libra or something else, to democratize the exchange of foreign currencies. Today, with computers and electronic market,
there shouldn't be that.
It should be 10 basis points, 5 basis points.
That
it's
makes
not
sense.
percent. And so I actually believe the idea around Libra, I don't think we need to create a new currency, but the technology to instantaneous calibrate all the currencies, that should be done.
Who gets squished by that? Who are the middlemen who are making money on that?
The banks.
You know, we're making, as the Bitcoiners would say, that's progress for you. At least to get to the point where you're saying that about Libra.
No,
you're still not saying it about Bitcoin.
I think Bitcoin
but
has,
even,
But it's saying that's blockchain.
Bitcoin
I don't know if
is,
Libra is blockchain. They haven't decided. I might do that.
it has to be some form of that.
It's just ledger.
I mean,
Right, but
just
it's the basket of fiat currencies. It's like,
But you
No, but
don't
the
need
crypto
that.
is just keeping track of
there's
it.
no inherent value.
But you don't need that. If you had this mechanism in every transaction, you could minimize the transaction cost.
I mean,
Talking about cross-border remittances and describing exactly what XRP can do. Now, he doesn't mention XRP, but he talks about how we need to innovate this system of transferring money to minimize these fees and minimize the transaction times. This was from Zero Hedge today, just a few hours ago. In case you missed it, he says, I see value in having an Ethereum ETF. These are just stepping stones towards tokenization, and I really do believe this is where we are going to be going. And before I play that clip, I want to talk about Ripple and tokenization. Ripple Chief Technology Officer David Schwartz says XRP Ledger is pivoting to real-world asset tokenization pursued by firms like JP Morgan and Bank of America. Schwartz made these remarks while discussing the journey of XRPL. He expressed his satisfaction with the fact that the technology behind the XRP Ledger is getting more attention these days. The CTO emphasized that XRP remains a token that market participants can buy, hold, and transfer. However, he stressed that the token itself is not as interesting as the core technology powering the XRP Ledger. He further called attention to XRPL's unique nature at the early stage of blockchain adoption, noting that the network was the first Layer 1 blockchain not built from Bitcoin technology during the 2011-2012 period. He noted that in the early days, he and other architects were looking at ways to bolster enterprise adoption for solutions like Bitcoin. For such adoption to occur, they would need to establish bridges, connections, and other pivotal technologies. Schwartz then revealed that he is extremely excited about delving into real-world asset tokenization. He stressed that establishing efficient tokenization of real-world assets has grown to be a problem. The XRP Ledger is positioned to solve that problem. In his words, real-world asset tokenization is something that I'm pretty excited about because that's a real problem and there's real interest from mainstream financial giants like JP Morgan and Bank of America, which are actively pursuing tokenization of traditional assets. And this is a massive market. They project that real-world asset tokenization will hit $30 trillion by 2030. Anthony Welfare, Ripple's CBDC advisor, revealed in July that Ripple aims to transform the real estate industry through tokenization. And it won't just be real estate, it'll be money market funds, it'll be stocks, bonds. I believe in the future everything will be tokenized on the blockchain. Now let me play this clip from Larry Fink on CNBC.
By the SEC, that's a fine.
Meaning, let's just put a fine point on that. The industry, meaning companies like yours, asked the SEC to allow folks who might have owned shares via a Grayscale to be able to transfer those in kind to a Blackrock or to Fidelity or whomever.
And so that there would be no tax ramifications. That was not denied. They wanted to really just create from scratch cash only, which we all respect the SEC's reasoning.
That creates an opportunity actually for Grayscale to keep those customers for a much longer time.
It does, but I think over the long run, when you start adding up the fees and adding up the fees, people are going to start thinking about redeeming and then ultimately going into an ETF.
Longer term, do you now expect other cryptocurrency ETFs? Meaning, do you think that Gary, and we'll talk to him later, Gary
like Ethereum
will have to approve an Ethereum ETF? And is that a function of something the SEC has to do, or do you think that all these things have to go to court first?
I couldn't respond to that. I see value in having an Ethereum ETF. As I said, these are just stepping stones towards tokenization. And I really do believe this is where we're going to be going. We have the technology to tokenize today. If you want to talk about, think about this. If you had a tokenized security and you have a tokenized identity, you, Andrew, the moment you buy or sell an instrument, it is known. It's on a general ledger that is all created together. You want to talk about issues around money laundering and all that. This eliminates all corruption by having a tokenized system.
Jamie Dimon disagrees with you on that, but...
So don't listen to me, listen to the CEO of Blackrock, the world's largest hedge fund. And this is something I kind of touched on yesterday or 2 days ago. But the downside of these spot Bitcoin ETFs, so Arthur Hayes, BitMEX founder, one of the OGs of crypto, he's been around since 2012. Why Bitcoin ETFs could completely destroy Bitcoin, okay? Specifically, these exchange-traded funds. Spot Bitcoin ETFs are made to vacuum up assets and store them in a metaphorical vault. If Bitcoin ETF issuers end up holding all of the Bitcoin and investors end up buying Bitcoin derivatives rather than holding themselves, the number of transactions on the network will dry up and miners will lose any incentive to keep validating transactions. Essentially, everyone that buys a Bitcoin ETF isn't really buying Bitcoin. They're buying a derivative of Bitcoin, and that's not good for the miners. The end result is miners turn off their machines as they can no longer pay for the energy required to run them. Without miners, the network dies and Bitcoin vanishes. Interestingly, Hayes imagined that should such a scenario unfold, a new cryptocurrency monetary network would take Bitcoin's place and even expand upon Satoshi Nakamoto's original vision of peer-to-peer electronic money. I talk about this a lot. Two things: Bitcoin not being the biggest horse in the race anymore. Of course, it steers the whole market right now, but I do believe in the future because Bitcoin is a failed white paper. It is not peer-to-peer electronic money. I think something else could take the place as number one. And when we talk about peer-to-peer electronic money, which is Satoshi Nakamoto's original vision, this is exactly what XRP is designed to do. You can send it in seconds, and it's essentially a free transaction, right? It's a fraction of a penny. He says the people will once again have a non-state controlled monetary asset and financial system. Hopefully the second time around we will learn to not hand our private keys to Wall Street firms. Everyone's so bullish on these ETFs because when the gold ETFs launched in 2004, the price of gold went on to quadruple within the next 8 years. However, Bitcoin is a bit different, and these Bitcoin ETFs could ultimately actually be a bad thing for the space. But the verdict is still out on that. Have a great weekend, guys. Thanks for joining me. Until next time.